Hi guys, hello. Welcome to Success Live with Holly and Hal. I am so freaking excited. Holly sent me her success story via Instagram. Then Kay, who runs the Instagram, sent it to me, and I was going to reply, and then I was like, I want to actually talk to her in person. So we're going to talk to her in person. Hooray!
Can you see us? Hi.
Hey there.
Excited. Hi, Hal.
Hi, Laws. It's nice to meet you.
I'm sorry you're trying to squish into the tiny phone screen.
I know, right? I know.
It would not work on the computer. We tried.
You're married. You can sit on top of each other for this if you
That's
so
right.
wish.
There you go. That's right.
He would like that.
That's right.
Guys,
It's so good to see you,
It's so
Liz.
exciting. I can't tell you. When Kay said that to me, so Kay runs my Instagram. She sent the comment to me. She was like, look who's got married. She sent it to me. I almost fell off my fucking chair. I was so excited. I was like, Holly. I was like, what? I was like, the excitement I had. I said, quick. I was like, I need to talk. I wanted to tell her personally how excited I am. So that's why we were like, can we talk to you? Because I was like, of all the people I want to talk to Holly, because this has been a journey. Your coaching was, I went and looked back. I think it was the 8th of December, 2022.
I remember that day. I remember that.
What?
I remember December 8th. Yeah, I remember December 8th.
He was not with me, though.
Well, I remember, can we talk about some old story stuff? Because I don't know how much to bring up here.
You're fine to talk about anything. I promise.
Okay,
Yes,
so
he knows everything.
In the coaching, what I remember is, because I watched it last night, because I was like familiarizing myself, but I distinctly remembered the story. There was a story about the house. There was a story about this other bitch. Then there was a story about he wasn't there at the time and you were having the coaching.
Yes.
He wasn't there.
Yes.
And that was the 8th of December. And then there was a story about a work Christmas party thing happening and all this stuff. So I watched it last night again and I remembered, oh, Hal, you weren't there. You had left for like a week or something.
Right.
Yes.
And then, so in the coaching, just so you guys are aware, what Holly had done, she'd gone and done the self-concept course, because everyone, the requirement of doing coaching with me back in the time when I was doing coaching, I'm not anymore, was to do the self-concept course. And so Holly had some really good awareness about herself, but she kind of was really concerned about the 3D circumstances.
Yes.
And if we watch that coaching back, the 3D circumstances were shit, Hal. They were shit.
Oh, they were, it was burning down. It was on fire.
It was.
Like, it couldn't have got worse. It could have been no worse.
It got worse. So when you hear the story and you're like, that's why when I was like, Holly Hollis is getting married. I was like, the journey, right? Because that was a shit show circumstance. Okay.
Yes.
Then I think it got worse after the coaching because you were in the house during the coaching, weren't you? And then you had to leave.
Yes.
Yes.
It was so when I did the coaching with you, he was with the third party at her house and I was here. It's full circle for me because I was in the house and I was being told I had to leave, and then now I'm in the house as his wife, Lod. So it's come full circle.
So you know what I said? What a quantum leap can happen for a year. The change in a year is remarkable.
Now listen,
and you said you were excited when she got. You said you were excited when she got married. I'm like, damn, Laws, I'm just as surprised as you are.
I just like in a year, Laws, like literally it was milestones. And then, November, we got married in November. Our coaching call was the previous December. So it was literally 11 months from our coaching call.
Yeah. And listen to this. What I said to you in the coaching call, I watched it last night. I wrote it down. You were all concerned about going to this fucking work Christmas party. It was driving me crackers. And I said to you, does it matter about the work Christmas party if you're married to him in a year?
You did say that.
I love how prepared you are. I love hearing this part of the story. I love this.
And then you went, oh, no, it doesn't. And then I said, okay, so imagine that. Holly, keep going to the end. Go to the end. Go to the end. And you kept bringing up 3D shit. But what about this thing? And what do I say to him? I said, Holly. And then, Holly, I don't know if you remember this, but I fucking lost my shit at you the week later or like 2 weeks later.
I remember.
Because you went into the Q&A.
Sorry, Lost.
My fucking Q&A in the squad. And you asked a question about the fucking work Christmas party that we'd already talked about.
Yes.
And then you were like in the Q&A, but guys, I've got my dress and do I just go? And I saw the question. And I don't normally reply to questions, but I lost my shit and I can't find the question because I think it's in the
my gosh.
But I was
and I was like,
Holly, you have literally wasted my time. I was like,
I love it.
I was like, go back to your coaching and watch it again.
Yes.
Because I was so angry because I was saying to you, stop worrying about it. Imagine you're married. Imagine you're married. Go to the end. Just work on you, right?
Yes.
And then look at you now. And I'm like, about the fucking work Christmas party now.
I know.
That's right. Hey.
Plus, it was the Christmas party and it was those damn manifesting journals.
You find them, Hal?
Oh, I found them. I read them all. I read every single journal entry she ever wrote.
It was my worst nightmare, but it ended up working in my favor.
Yes.
So what did you think when you found them? Were you just like, this bitch is
Okay,
crazy?
so all right, so then I knew nothing about manifesting, had never heard of it, didn't know what it was, and I'm looking at it, and I'm reading this piece of paper, and I'm saying, what is this crazy shit that she's writing? I mean, it's like, man, is she psycho? Like, what in the hell? Who the hell thinks that they could just write this shit down and say this, and it's going to happen? I was like blown away, and now I'm like, I'm eating my words.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, listen, I have got a series of questions for you, Hal, because this is a real treat for us to have the SP actually prepared to be on the live and prepared to talk is so crazy. Like, sometimes people might talk about their SPs, but they don't actually bring them on board. So would you be prepared at the end for me to ask you some questions?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He loves it.
Because no, I'm ready.
Because we don't often get the point from the other person that's involved. We only get what we were doing, but we don't often get that other side. And that's so fascinating for everyone, including me, because we don't know what's going on in your mind. All we know is that what we put in there.
Oh, I can't wait to tell you.
All right, so Holly, let's go back. So when you did the coaching with me, you had done the self-concept course.
Yes.
And you discovered in the self-concept course that your you won't love me fear was extremely high. Oh, you've turned your phone. Turn your phone back.
Better.
Okay. So remember that. So your fear for you won't love me was 90%.
Yes.
Now, then we discovered that everything that was playing out in your reality was a direct correlation with that fear. So if somebody else was getting attention and love and time and affection, it wasn't you, it was the other person, wasn't it?
Correct. Yes.
Right. Then we also discovered there was a lack of control that you also felt perhaps in childhood because your dad was quite controlling. And so you felt like this whole 3D situation was kind of out of your control.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So then knowing those things after the coaching, tell me what you actually did in terms of, because I know I could have given you affirmations and all that stuff. What did you do with that information when you realized, oh shit, I have this real story that I'm not going to get the love, time, attention, and affection and things are beyond my control? What did you start to then do?
I made a decision that, I was the cause. I was also the effect. And so I made a decision after we hit those, fears and concerns that I was not going to be that person any longer. Like I didn't have to be. So I changed it. I was really back to my I amness or, self-concept as some people would say. But I stuck to that. That has been my game changer, reality shifting the entire time. Was just sticking.
What were you actually doing? Because some people think it's just like sitting there doing the affirmations, but you were getting control of your thinking how?
It was technically it was a mental diet, but initially I made it too hard, Liz. Like I think that, at first there was just so many outside things and I made it really hard, but I changed my thinking. It was really like you tell us, change your thinking. Assume the best about me, assume the best about him or and us. I changed the story. And then when I would have these doubts and fears that arose, I literally just had to go back to my I amness, or, some would say self-concept. Yes, like we talked about.
And when you say go back to your I amness, are you talking about I am idea that I am just me and all these things that I was thinking are just piled on top of me and I am the I am that's in control? Or are you saying you went to the new I am of the new you?
The new I am of the new me. So when those fears that we highlighted, I decided that I was not going to be those fears. Like you remember it used to be I wasn't chosen, I wasn't good enough. So I switched that to no, I am chosen, I am good enough right now. And that's what I went back to. It was all about me. It's a journey of us or me.
And I think what we uncovered in the call was a lot of people assume they're not going to be chosen because it's a third party situation. But there's something deeper that's causing the not being chosen. And that's what we kind of uncovered in the self-concept course and the course of the call was like, the reason why you weren't being chosen was because of the deeper fears of like, if I'm a child and my dad's all about him and what he wants and things are beyond my control and I don't get a lot of affection and time and love and I get, say, monetary things instead, or I need to achieve for him instead, then I have this story that in order to get love, I need to be a certain way or do a certain thing or please someone, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then you had this kind of story of like, I'm still not pleasing you. And then
Yes.
I think what was showing up in the 3D was like, Hal was not pleased. He was
No, he
becoming
was not
pleased
pleased.
with someone else.
Yes.
And then he was displeased about what you were doing, almost like in a childlike way, like you've done something wrong. I think there was something about a TK Maxx
Yes.
shopping
The
trip or
TK
something.
Maxx card.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And then I said to you, but didn't your dad try and control you in that kind of way and say, oh, you've been naughty, or you've done something wrong, or you're a good girl, here's some money, or here's some things.
Yes.
Right. So you'd already, so when you discovered all of that, this is the thing, the deeper stuff. So you can be in your new I amness, like, I am loved and chosen. Great. But what's happening back here that's telling you, no, but you do shit wrong.
Yeah.
And no, you don't please people. And no, you never get the love, time, and attention. It doesn't matter how many times you say you're chosen or you're in the new I am. What's happening back here? And that's what I think you really worked on.
Yes. It was all a journey of me. Once I got in control of those thoughts and made the decision that, I was no longer that person, I did not have to do things. We hit the fears. I knocked them out. I didn't have to do things to please anybody. I just had to please myself and love myself.
Good.
Yes.
And the difference in you, honestly, even Holly, your face looks thinner.
Really?
Have you lost
now,
weight?
Yes, I have. There was a lot, like it's been full circle a lot. My whole life is different.
So,
but here's the funny thing.
Afterwards was talking about your beautiful skin, because you've always had beautiful skin, but I think your face actually was thinner. Sorry, Hal, what did you say?
So I was just going to say, here's the funny thing is that when she was trying so hard, I felt absolutely that it was not authentic, and I could feel every bit of effort that was not real. And I told her, it's like, you actually didn't need to do anything but be yourself. And so by trying so hard, it actually come across to me as totally fake. And that was absolutely, and that shut me down, completely shut me down.
When do you think that, so when you saw her again, so there's the fascinating story, because I watched the Manifest with Kimberly thing, and I heard the story about how you messaged him or went out for lunch.
Yes.
So first of all, tell us what made you go, I'm going to message him for lunch, and what gave you that impetus?
So it was December, I was like told that I had to leave the house. I brought in a third party, not to just so people can remember, brought in a third party. And that was a travesty for both of us. I'll let him tell you his side of it. We stayed in contact because we were friends. I was really close with the kids. So I stayed in contact with him as a friend on text. We didn't really talk because I knew the third party was in and about, but I decided that she was not a problem. I was going to let it just fade off and I wasn't going to focus on it.
Good.
And so I stayed in contact and I was my authentic self because I genuinely loved him and always loved him and was going to be his friend. And then, it was, I don't know, I even, Laz, you remember I dated a couple of people too, but it was just not.
Oh, I know. I've got some success stories here. Look, Holly's success post. We've got all these success posts from the squad, right?
Yes.
I love it.
One of them's about someone else, Hal. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, it doesn't matter. You know what? So here's what I saw. So like I look at her social media like once every quarter. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, I know she's not happy. I know that's fake. So I give her hell about it because I know everything about her. I can tell every bit of everything everybody can't see. I can see all of it. I knew it.
Wonderful. So then, sorry, Holly, I interrupted you. So then you were saying,
that's okay. Well, I dated a couple of people. It was just, we had, it was fun. And then, but it wasn't the love that I had for Hal. And then I don't know, it was sometime in late August or early September. And I had this, it was like inspired action. I was just thinking about him and I was like, the dentist I have was still up here and I knew I was getting ready to go to the dentist. And I was like, just text him and see what happens. The worst he could say is no. But I was so confident in myself that it didn't matter what he said. I knew that we were going to be married and that, living in the end of it.
That's the difference, guys, between her just going, I'm just going to do this, and you manipulating shit.
Yes.
Fucking huge difference. And some of you really don't understand this. I'm talking to everyone else at the moment. There's a difference. And I have done things like that myself where I've not been speaking to a specific person. Something dire has happened in my reality. And I've been like, the only person that can help me with this is that person. I've messaged them and it's ended up being the thing that brought us back together. Now, what was that? Did that dire circumstance happen so that we would talk again? Who fucking knows? But I had the inspired thought, like, the only person I can speak to about this right now is this person. Brought us back together. It was all like, everything was forgotten. So that's kind of what inspired action is. It isn't the plot. Holly was sitting there plotting and going, and then I'm going to ask him to lunch, and then I'm going to say, and that's all manipulation. And that's not what Holly was doing, right?
Correct.
There's a slight difference.
There's a big difference. I think it was that I was already in the end, living from the end of that. We're already married and we're blissfully, happily married.
Right.
And that's what I went back to. So it didn't matter if he said yes or no. I still win in the end. And I was very confident. So I already knew that I was fine with whatever he decided, but I already knew how it was going to go. And then he accepted.
I still thought I knew when she was living in the end. Okay, I was like, is she delusional? Like, I'm fighting this the whole way. Like, I'm fighting it. I'm literally fighting it. I'm like, no, I'm not going there. No,
you
I'm
read
not going
the journal.
there. No.
You knew what was coming. You were like, I'm not giving you that.
Yes. That's right.
Yes. Those journals, y'all, you remember that was my biggest fear, and it played out. And I'm like, looking back, we laugh about it, Laws, but I was distraught in the squad. Remember that post? I was distraught.
Yeah, but you know what? So I read them at first, and I thought they're absolutely crazy. Okay, but what I've learned now is that people are afraid to share them because they don't understand how to articulate what manifesting is. They don't understand how to articulate the process behind it and what their goals are. And that's what I've learned from then until now is now I look at it and I see it as something that she couldn't explain, couldn't articulate, didn't quite understand how to put into concept that made sense. And I think that is why people struggle with this journaling thing.
Okay. And then you think people are afraid because they're going to think she was trying to manipulate you, but she wasn't. She was just taking control of her own reality, but she couldn't really explain that.
Yes. No. Oh, like, no, people don't know how to say it in a way that makes sense.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, I'm writing this down and it's going to happen. I'm just wishing one hand, shit in the other to see which one fills up first, right? It's like, it doesn't work like that. But they don't understand how to say, hey, I'm aligning my subconscious with this goal. So by writing it down, like every action that I do subconsciously starts to align myself with grabbing this destiny that I'm seeking, right? And nobody knows how to like articulate the process of this. And so they're all afraid of it.
Afraid of it.
And that's kind of what I see.
Afraid of other people knowing about it.
Yes. Oh, it's a huge fear.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was my huge fear. And it came out. I mean, that's why I said fear nothing, because it's good if it comes out, so what?
And I think, you know what the biggest fear I think people think, and this isn't true, is like, but then does that mean I'm making him do this? And you're not.
No.
So how? I have a few questions here that the team has written.
All right.
For you specifically. Okay. So it says here, hang on, let me try and scroll up to read the rest of this. Was there a particular moment when Hal noticed a difference in her, or was it just gradual?
Okay.
And what was the noticeable difference in Holly now compared to before?
Okay, so was there a noticeable difference, or did I gradually notice the difference, and was there a remarkable change when I saw her? So that's an interesting question because I didn't see her for 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And what she would say, I think you said the word manifesting to me one time in text in that 8 month period. Yeah. And I blew it off. I was like, yeah, she's just still wishing in one hand, shaking in the other, seeing which one fills up first. So when she asked me to have this lunch with her, I was like, I didn't want to go. But I knew that she needed my help with it. She had an issue that she was dealing with. It's a financial thing. I'm a financial guy. So I knew that I could help her. And I'm like, you know what? I'm obligated because she's my friend. Like, I'm going to go help her. She needs my help and I know it. So I'm going to break down the barrier. I'm going to okay, you learned your hard lesson. I'm going to stop playing hard. And now I'm going to go, be your friend. And so I had planned for this to be a hour lunch, time frame, no more.
Hour lunch.
Yes, I was going to be gone. It was on Friday. Like I did it on lunch on purpose because I was like, okay, we're eating, we're out. I'm going back to work. Okay, I didn't leave till 1 o'clock in the morning. That's how that went. Okay, so my resolve and this plan and this fortified boundary that I'd set. Okay, it got broken. Yeah. So as I said, and one of the things that I realized is I said, man, God, I'm not talking to the same person. I saw these changes that she had made. Now, and I've known her since I was 14, okay? Right. So many of these changes that I saw in her were things that she had struggled with her entire life. Right. And I could not help but take note of this. And for one, her self-confidence. Yeah. She presented herself with confidence, with certainty, assurance that she didn't have before. And
before she was like people pleasing and doing for you and being about you, and now she was all about herself and confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah. And here was one of the crazy things. Okay, so we got to talking, and there were certain things like I'm a very disciplined financial guy, and she likes to go shopping. That's why TJ Maxx is a big deal. Yeah, I'm very financially, in tune. Like, I know everything, every dollar that
You
gets
do,
spent.
yeah.
And so one of the things that she did, though, is she actually broke down and she admitted where she needed to improve. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You just took my concerns and you just actually acknowledged them for the first time. And I was like,
Right.
okay, now I'm listening. Now I'm really
You saying
listening.
concerns, as in if you were married, her financial mentality would be a concern
Oh,
to you, the
absolutely.
way she spent and the way you would
Absolutely.
spend.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's a big concern for someone with money or a guy who's built up his life, and then you've got a wife who just
Oh,
goes, beep, beep, beep,
it's
throw money
huge.
around.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
huge.
And that
we've
was
got to
always
realize
a
that.
big
Yeah.
concern for him.
Right.
Always. And you and I
Oh, it
did
was a
that, hit
total
that in
roadblock.
coaching too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a roadblock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she presented herself differently about that, in her confidence. What else do you think you were feeling when you
So
saw her?
one thing is I saw, I knew that, she had struggled with, or not struggled with weight, but weight had been something that was conscious to her.
Yeah.
And I saw this
We
new
spoke
improved
about it on the call.
version
Yeah.
of her. And I
Yes.
was like,
Yes.
I knew that for her to overcome this, that something she'd struggled with her entire life.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew, I understood the discipline, the effort, the work, the self-reflection and the self-evolution that went into this new person, right? So it wasn't that she was like this new shiny person. It was that I fully understood all of the mechanics that went behind that change.
Right. Okay. And then Holly, how did you feel? So after you've had this whole lunch and it went to 1 a.m,
Yes.
then what some people fuck up is then it goes to 1 a.m, they get all excited, and then the next day there's no good morning text, or the next week there's no texting, and they freak
Oh, I
out,
didn't.
and then they go,
Oh,
well, you obviously don't
Oh, that's a
love
great
me
one.
or
Yeah, tell her.
something. So tell us then what you did and what happened.
that was exactly right, Les, because I was like, we ended on this great note, like even where he kissed me at the end of the night and how he loved me and this and that, and I was like, this is it. And no, it lagged a little bit for a couple weeks, but I did not let the 3D tell me who I was. I told the 3D who I am.
Because I'm still fighting it. Just because
Yeah.
we had one good lunch, I'm not sold. I'm still resistant.
Yeah.
I was so pissed that we kissed. I was like, why did you do that? Why did you? I told myself this was not going to happen. When it happened, I was like, what in the world? Yes.
Yes. Yes. But
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hear from him. Like, I texted him a few times and I was like, this is my reality. I control this. I'm a powerful manifestor. Look where we're at. And I already knew that we were going to be married, or I was married in the end. I was living in the end. So I was like, I did not let it get to me. Whereas this is what I want to hit on. It's like, stay persistent, stay in faith, and don't let anything that comes up in the 3D, it's just temporary. Like it's
Right. Right. So that's such a turnaround. Such a turnaround from the 3D you were so reactive to at the beginning.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So then what happened? So after you hadn't spoken for a few weeks and blah, 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 then what happened?
So, I mean, it did lag, if I'm thinking back, but I stayed in my mind. I lived in my imagination that everything was fine. I'm blissfully, happily married. Like, it doesn't matter what, this is old news, And then in October, I had to come back, and we talked some, like, it just wasn't like I hoped. Like, I thought it was going to be just immediately like 100%. No.
AKA,
It wasn't what you...
Huh?
How?
I said, we only talked when she texted me. I wasn't texting her at this point. I'm not texting her at this point.
Even doing the initiating the text
Not
yet,
at all.
Okay.
Not
No.
one bit.
So while that was happening, Holly, tell us, because this is the stuff people really struggle with.
Yes.
So when the 3D shit isn't turning up the way you want, this is when some of you really fuck it up, because they've come back or they started talking to you, and then you react like a fucking triggered bitch, and you blow the whole thing, and then you think, oh, fuck, I've blown it again, and that's when you lose them again.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And that's why I started my whole account, because I was the one who did that, because I was extremely reactionary.
Yes.
Right? And it would come from my fear of you don't love me, you're not choosing me, I'm gonna get hurt here. And so what I'd do is I'd send the text like, well, obviously you're not interested, or some fucking thing. And you think, why did I do that? And if you know what your fear is, okay, that's coming from that.
Yes.
Do I actually need to open my fat mouth or use my fat fingers and type anything right now, because it's only coming from me?
Yes.
Right? So how did you manage to curb that and not do anything? And what were you thinking instead?
It was a conscious decision. Like, I had to decide moment to moment. Like, I can go down many different, paths. So which path was I going to choose? I was going to either decide that I was that I am who I, declared I was going to be, and this was just, old news. Or I could have gone down that road and lost him again like I did every other time. So I just stood firm in my decision that I know who I am, and we're blissfully, happily married, and it's just catching up.
So
Just
at this point,
catching up.
Just catching up.
This is an important part, Loss, because if she had done everything that you just described, that's everything she did all before.
Yes.
If she had done any of that, it would have shut me down, because it shut me down. Yeah. Once that started happening, it's like, whoa, okay, this is like barriers up, man. This is like, no way. We're not going in this direction.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that she always did. And so this time,
and
she
you know
didn't
what?
react.
And then she's showing you she's not the new I am. She's still got remnants of the old I am, the
Yes.
old her. And then you're like, oh, and that's when you get in an argument with your SP and they say something like, oh, God, nothing's changed. Or you're still the same old bitch you were before. Bye. And then you're like, oh, no, I did all this work and I threw it away because I had no self-control to stop myself. Right?
Yes.
So it's not just the stopping yourself, Holly, that you've mastered, which is so amazing. It's the stopping yourself is just one thing, but you could stop yourself and then still be thinking the shit. He doesn't love me. He's not choosing me. Is that girl still around? Why isn't he listening to me? He's a blah, blah, blah. Now, you've done both. You went, I'm not going to react.
Yes.
And I'm going to the end, and I'm my new I am. So because I'm in my end, it doesn't matter. The week Christmas party doesn't matter. So not texting me right now and not initiating texts and the taking time does not matter. But you did both, Holly, and that's what's so masterful here, because a lot of people can't do both or don't do both, right?
And I think that's key. You don't react. Like, it's okay to acknowledge it. Like, I acknowledge and accept that, okay, like you say, oh, I created this, whatever. Just don't react. I mean, you can uncreate it as quickly as you create it. Decide what you want to see instead. So that's what I did. I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, he's constantly texting me. We're blissfully, happily married. This doesn't even matter.
So then when did it start to change? When did it start to change? Or what were you thinking that made it start to change, do you think?
I stayed in my decision of who I was. I reminded myself of my key affirmations, my I amness and who I was. And then I reminded myself of who Hal was now and what our story was. And I mean, that was in September lunch. It lagged a little bit. We still talked. We met another time in October because I had to come back to the dentist. I invited him to lunch and he was like a lot better than as far as like more excited about it. Yeah. And then I said, I was in a real estate deal in my place in Savannah, and I did need his help. And I was like, I really need you to come down and help me with this, if you will. So it wasn't manipulation at all. It's like, I knew he's the financial genius, and I literally needed his help. And then that was in October, and he came down. It was the Halloween weekend, I think. And then that was the end.
Lovely.
It just took off.
And part of me in my head, I'm battling this. Okay, I'm sitting in my car, and we're having this conversation about real estate deal. Now I'm sitting here saying, you know what? Now I told you all this shit was going to happen. I told you everything I ever got on your ass about. Like this is what it caused, right? And I thought to myself, like, should I just let this should I let her learn a lesson? I'm like, no, dude, you got to go help her. You can't do it,
Oh, so you were annoyed because the thing you told her was going to happen was happening, and
oh my God!
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? Every one of these like financial controls that I have,
financial genius.
Every one of them, I told her, like, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. If you do this, this is going to happen. All of it happened. Everything I said was going to happen.
Then what happened then? So how did you go from that to then in the second meeting to now? What do you think happened in your brain, Hal?
So in my brain, I'm still fighting it. Okay, so I'm still fighting it. And honestly, what encouraged me to go and see her on this weekend was that I knew that she was my friend. So I had to put this personal, I told you so and all that stuff. I had to put all that aside and said, okay, I'm going to go help her because she needs my help. But if it wasn't for that, I wasn't going to go and just hang out with her, right? I knew that this was a situation where I really had something to contribute and she really needed it. And it was, and I was wanting to put every difference we ever had aside and go help my friend, right?
Right.
But outside of that, I don't know that I would have come to her house because it's a 4-hour drive, right? So she lives in Savannah. So it's a little drive for me in Atlanta. And so that I knew that she needed it. And then when I got to her house and we, and I said, everything I told you was going to happen. This is what happened. But you know what? Then we started having real conversation about it. And what was so powerful to me, this is from my perspective, what was powerful to me was just to not hear excuses or to deflect everything that I had said, all these, hey, if you do this, for the first time, she actually acknowledged these things. We had and it opened up very deep and authentic, meaningful conversations.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So pushing off the, everything I said or maybe invalidating is what you would call it.
Yeah.
But, or just making it not real. It's I knew it was real. But so it actually opened up very deep and authentic conversation. And this is when like we started to connect, right? Because now we're having like a back and forth that's like meaningful, it's productive, and it's engaging, and
Right.
and it's not about fault or this or that. It's actually like that's what I really realized, okay, is that we were having a conversation and I was taking something out of it, and I'm like, hey, we're getting better together in these conversations. And that to me was so powerful, because then I wanted to have more of those conversations, right? It's like, we're growing together, we're getting better. It's like, it's not about you did this wrong, I did this wrong. It's like now we're strategizing, right? Now we're recapping like what we did wrong so we can learn lessons. And that was one of the most powerful things I took from it, is to say, hey, I'm growing from this conversation. This is engaging, and it's productive. And that was a big thing.
I think her taking the blame off you for anything that would have happened
would
have been a huge thing, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
You feel that blame when you're a guy in a relationship and a girl's going, and then you didn't give this to me, or you did that, you went to that girl, and then you feel like, I can't do anything right. I'm a bad guy again, or whatever. And you didn't feel that way in this circumstance.
That's right. And that was huge, because let's face it, as a guy, it's always your fault. You're an asshole one moment, you're smart the next moment, you're funny the next, but it's always negative, right? And so it was actually, as she started thinking of me positive, the changes that I saw was she started talking to me positive and talking about me positive.
Because she changed the story of you.
Yes. And the thing is, I changed
her own stuff.
Yes. And my reaction changed, okay? Because, how do you think I'm going to react when all of a sudden, like, I'm being elevated, right? And I'm being looked at in this positive way. Then I start feeling positive myself. And then I start looking at her positively as a result.
So guys, when we change the story of them, they start to feel more positive about us and themselves. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
We're not shitting on them and telling them they're doing things wrong and blaming them for what is happening, because we've taken full fucking responsibility for our lives and our thoughts. So once Holly did that and took all that away, suddenly you saw her and yourself in a different light. And then what do you think happened? Then did it kind of, the romance part of it blossomed after that in your mind?
Quickly. I mean, when I tell you it was lightning fast, when I thought like, oh my gosh, it's been, you don't want to harp on time, but I was like, okay, it's been 10 months now. And then he came down, and I knew him, I don't know, something, I just knew. And probably because I, was still living from the end, I knew that it would only take him coming down one time, and that would be it. And it was.
It did.
I mean, it
really happened that way.
Lightning fast.
It's crazy.
That was in October, and then he came back on his birthday in November, and he actually proposed that weekend. And then we decided 3 weeks later in November, we're just going to get married.
I love those photos. I think they're beautiful. I love those kind of like, no one's around, it's just you guys, it's just about you kind of weddings. I love those weddings.
So, I always told her, so like going back to her, like, just spending or shopping or whatever. She always wanted she wanted to have this big fancy wedding. I'm like, why in the hell do we want to have this wedding with all these people? Like, I don't give a shit about these people. Like, I just want to be there with you. Right. And like, so I proposed to her when I was 17 years old, and we split up, of course, from that. So,
but my own, that was me unconsciously not knowing that it was unconscious.
Yes. But so when we got married, it was like just us. We spent no money. It was at a park with some minister that she hired.
Aww.
Okay. And it was great because I didn't care what anybody thought or what I looked like. It was just, I actually shared this moment with her. And I told her after, I was like, man, if more people got married like this, the divorce rate would like plummet.
But not only that, sometimes when you've got your SP back and you've badmouthed him and you've been saying this and that, and then if you had a wedding like 2 months later, people be like,
yes,
this guy, you hate it.
Yes.
So I can understand sometimes, because a lot of people are afraid because of the old story. Everyone's still got the old story of you or the situation, but you guys haven't got the old story anymore. No. So you guys are living in the new reality with the new story. And you might have these people who turn up to the wedding like, but I thought we hated him. I thought
there was still some of that reaction loss, like, there was still and it's old news, that still played out a little bit, that I'm just like, whatever. But once they saw how happy we are and how authentic it really was, the old story's gone. Like, it was just remnants of me thinking that they were reflecting.
So like from my perspective, right, I don't know anything about this manifest. I still had never even heard of it, right? We had just started talking about it. So this is like my introduction into what this, realm or mastery of science is. And, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, if she didn't lead by example in this new reality, I might not have followed. Right. But so she actually did herself. Like it spoke volumes that she was leading by example in this reality. So because I'm just as resistant to this, right? I don't know what this reality is. I don't believe in shit. But seeing her lead by example, I was like, okay, all right, so I'm going to take the first step and follow it. And it was it's really crazy because I'm just as confused as you are, as I said earlier, right? In this whole thing, right? I'm like, what is happening in my life? And the only like, I thought about this for months. I reflected on this for a while. The only thing that I could kind of come to terms with was this was a complete U-turn in life.
Right.
And then so I started kind of exploring this thing of U-turns and saying, well, it's a complete change in direction. It's a change of course. It's a change in path. It's a change in the rest of my life. And then I thought, man, how many U-turns have I missed in my life that would have led to this? Or how many times did we miss this U-turn in life because we didn't get out of our own way? And it was like,
our own way. Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what else that is, guys? When someone tells you a story like, I never want to get married, I've already been married, or I don't believe in marriage, or I want children, right? The U-turn that you guys have experienced is the same when someone has a story like that. Just because that person said that doesn't mean you can't now be in a new reality where that person now wants those things.
Correct. Oh, he used to tell me he was never getting married and he didn't want to marry. When I left his house last December, he was like, even before that, I'm not getting married. You know, you're not getting a ring.
Oh, I wasn't having any part of it. I was like, no part of it. Like, yeah, no part of it. Right.
So then what do you think now in terms of what you now understand about this, Hal? Like, how are you applying this in your own life? Are you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, I articulate it maybe different from, you know, manifesting to visualization or, you know, or just almost mental toughness. You know, I like mental toughness. That sounds better. You know, but absolutely. So, you know, I still have to follow.
That's a good PR one for the men.
Yes, mental toughness, right?
Yes.
But so now, you know, when I hear talking about the I amness and you know, the conscious version of me and changing realities, I'm like, whoa, this is like, well, you know, but I'm literally starting to understand it. And now I'm starting to be able to like articulate what it means in the process that she follows. And so like, I almost kind of like have this, you know, I hate to say documented process, but like, yeah, I kind of like establish the process that she follows. So yeah, now I apply it. And now I might apply it different, like mental toughness. But it's kind of still in my own way, right? But absolutely.
Well, I think a key difference that I've tried to teach him is that he takes effort, does things in the 3D, and I'm like, it's effortless. That's one takeaway is that it really is effort. I didn't do anything but change my thinking and look where I'm at, but he likes to take action in 3D.
Well, okay, so at the start of the video, you were talking about all the, you know, the third parties and all the interaction, and I thought to myself, I said, yeah, all you really had to do is absolutely fucking nothing. Right. And you know, you think you got to control. You think all this like circumstances you have to like manipulate, as you said. Yeah, all she had to do is absolutely fucking nothing.
So Holly, do you remember what I said for you to think about her on the call, and what did Hal end up thinking about her?
The X3P. Oh, that she's fucking crazy. She lies. I can't even.
That's what we said on your call.
Yes. Yeah. She's fucking crazy. She played out fucking crazy, just like you said. We said she is. She's gone.
so the message is like, too many people don't think that things will organically work themselves out, but they do. If you just sometimes back away and do nothing, then organically a lot of these situations just take right care of themselves.
Yeah.
Watch the coaching, and you're not allowed because it's secret women's business, and you're not allowed to watch it. You would know that we were discussing it, and I said to Holly, imagine she's a crazy bitch, and imagine Hal thinks eventually this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, this woman. This woman's the worst thing that ever happened to me.
I did.
And she was.
Hal, who put that thought in your mind, you or Holly?
I did. Yeah. I think so. She was a crazy bitch. You made it happen. But yeah, no, she let it happen organically, and it all happened just as she thought.
So that's when Holly has really mastered this, because she took what we said to think about that circumstance and that person, and to think it doesn't matter what's going on, because Hal is now going to think this about this circumstance.
Yes.
And going to think this about me. Yeah. And then that's what's happened. So tell me then, who was thinking that? You or Holly?
Oh, Holly. It's almost like she had control of the big picture. She was looking. So, and I love it because it's like for the first time, maybe she was a little strategic and, you know, looking at the.
You watch this coaching back, Hal. I know you're in the squad right now with Holly, but you are not going to go find this coaching call and watch
Oh, no. No.
Okay. But honestly, when I watched it last night, so much of what you've said has happened actually with what we were speaking about, Holly, that you were now going to think. And also another thing I said to you was go and write down the vows he says to you.
Yes.
Say those or anything like those?
I didn't ever really script it out loud, but I had it in my head, and like I found a wedding song that I liked, and so I would sit there and this was just me it's not daydreaming, it was like intent, it was very like, what's the word?
Aligning your subconscious to it.
I guess. So I would sit there and like visualize our wedding day and like what we'd say to each other, and like it worked out even better than I could have imagined. I mean, I couldn't have done it better.
God. Oh, I'm so excited for you guys. Honestly, I almost fucking fell off the chair. I'm not joking. When of all the people, I was like, Holly.
That's how
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
The one I lost my shit out in the Q&A. So hang on. Let me just read the other questions here. We've pretty much answered them. So has anyone in the chat got any questions for Hal or for Holly that you would like to ask these guys? I'm going to scroll down and ask them. But is there anything else, Holly, you want to talk about? Because we've talked to Hal a lot here.
Just persist. Don't give up. You can have everything that you want. I think that was when it came full circle, Oz, is that here we are talking again, literally a little bit, a year and a half later. What month are we? A year and a half later. And I literally was in the office in there with our coaching call. Like it came full circle tonight. And I was like, holy shit. Like I was being sent away from his home and I had to go back home and like, it was over. And I had it brought in a third party and look at us now, we're married. Like it can change. Circumstances do not matter. Stay in faith, persist.
And, so I'll just give you an interesting observation.
Yeah.
And we did the first interview we did, right? So I go and I read all the comments and, there's all these people going through all these things in their lives. And I literally, as I read them, I said, oh, we went through that. Oh, we went through that. Oh, that's normal. We had that. Oh, yeah, that happened to us. Like everything that, people were struggling, it was really interesting. Everything people were struggling with, we actually struggled with it too.
Right.
So it's really cool because I got to see, like, I'm coming in this at the end of a success story. So I'm not questioning the journey and I'm not questioning, is this real? Is this working? Am I developing? Am I making progress? But as I look at it from the success story being my starting point and looking backwards, I'm like, oh, we thought that. Oh, we had that same experience. We had that issue.
Right.
We had that doubt. We didn't believe it either. We didn't think it was real.
Right.
So it's kind of cool that, so that's what I would say is that I've learned that the process, if you follow it, it actually is effective and it works. I'm visually, I'm seeing it happen. Right. So I'm not like doing it, saying it works. I'm actually watching it actually freaking work.
But the thing that people don't get is the process was working perfectly before. It's just that Holly was doing it unconsciously before.
Yes.
Right.
So unconsciously before, the process of you leaving her was working perfectly.
Perfect. It worked perfect.
So all Holly had to do was get that mental toughness you were talking about and be her new self and her new I am to stop manifesting what was already occurring, which was happening, and the process was happening perfectly before.
Yes.
This is what a lot of people don't understand. When I talk about, but what have you caused? But how did you cause that? People think I'm being really negative, but I'm saying, look how magically you did that without even fucking thinking about it logically and consciously. And so if you can harness your mind, like you're saying, and have the mental toughness, you can now change it.
Yes.
Absolutely. It is absolutely a mastery of your mind. Because if she was, if you go back to December, if she was kind of that ball of, that raging bitch, as you said, look, my life was miserable. Like it sucked, So all that stuff was like directly, it was a direct correlation to the impact it had on my life 100%. And then when she started thinking about me positively, talking about me positive, talking to me positively, all of a sudden I started feeling positive, right? And I'm like, my posture's up. Now I'm talking and looking at her positive too. Now we're partners. And this is how what I called it. I told her one day, I was like, hey, we're co-CEOs. It's like,
that's lovely.
Yes, because, it's like, hey, I can lead us financially and I can lead us professionally. But it's like, but now the manifesting, what I saw was the strength of her love and the power of this. And so I also said, like, hey, there's times where I need to let you lead me. I need to follow because I have a lot to learn in my personal life, right?
That's
and
lovely.
so co-CEOs is what I call it.
I love that. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's pretty cute. Okay, Holly, I've got some questions here. Holly,
Yes.
how did you stay focused and avoid the 3D?
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it or lie. I mean, my 3D was on fire. I mean, there were times that I was like, I'm going to give this up. And then, you know, I had to consciously decide that circumstances do not matter. I went back to what you and I talked, Laz, you know, and circumstances don't matter. I'm ultimately the one that's in control. I control my own reality.
Right.
So it's a decision, a minute by minute decision when it was on fire. That's literally what I did. Who am I being? Am I the version of Holly that was the inauthentic people pleaser, you know, who had all these doubts, fears, or am I the new version that gets exactly what she wants? It's conscious. It's a conscious decision.
Now, someone's written here, and Cara, I can see your question is all about your circumstance. So this fucking question's giving me the shits, but okay, I'll read it out. Holly, besides thinking Hal would think the third party was crazy, did you do anything else to remove her, or just decide that once, and then focused on your self-concept? So she's talking about removing the third party. Were you just not focused on her and focused on your self-concept? What were you doing?
I think, you know, initially was too, and I came on a live and told you this. When I was so focused on the third party, it seemed like it got worse. So for me, in my personal experience, don't focus on them. Decide that they are irrelevant and it doesn't matter. You go back to who you are, your I amness. I'm chosen, and they will literally disappear like she did in the worst way. I mean, not that I wished her any harm, but it was the worst circumstance for her.
Right.
But whatever.
I make sure Holly got her revenge. I did.
It was,
but seriously,
don't focus on her. No.
Because
the more you put awareness on her
is what will manifest.
Yes.
And you understood that eventually. So you were so aware of the 3D circumstance at the beginning. And that's why I was like tearing my hair out in the Q&A when you were focused on not going to the party. And I was like, Holly, you're still aware of what is going on that you shouldn't be aware of. Not being invited to the party, the third party, not being in the house, all the things that you were still aware of. And I was like, please turn your attention away from that and just go to the end. You're married, you're the new you, right? And you've really done that masterfully. But at the start, you were still aware. So there must have been a time. And what do you think happened? When did you start to not be aware of all the shit? What was happening in you that made you stop being aware of it so much?
When I started to really embody the new state of me, I was still having the doubts and fears, you know, but it was making that decision of who I am and who I'm going to be, and that I can control this, and that it's effortless. I don't have to do anything. So it was probably in March or April that I, you know, decided that it doesn't even matter. She's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. I took my attention off her altogether. And that's when that relationship went to hell. I mean, Hal can tell you, but I stopped focusing on her. I stopped focusing on her, and she was gone.
I literally say in the call, he's going to think this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. I can't remember what else I said. It was so funny because now he's but I'm like,
he did say that. He did.
I did, but you know what? So here's kind of my perspective. When she was focused on a third party, she wasn't focusing on herself. The only thing that was ever going to get my attention is her own personal development, right? So like when you actually put your effort and energy into things that you can control and the things that you can change, and stop worrying about the shit that you can't do anything about, wow, how much progress do you make in life? In 11 months, our whole life changed. I mean, we went from, you know, this back and forth relationship for 5 years, on and off, broken up, you know, like I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
He literally hated me when I left in December. It was
really
bad. You remember, Laz? He hated me. I was banned out of his house.
Because like the more that she like worried about this shit, the worse it showed. The more she reacted, the worse everything got. But once she stopped focusing on what she had no control over, and put her efforts into what she can control, it's like our whole lives did a U-turn.
Right, it did.
In a very short order.
Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So I just focused on being chosen, the priority. I'm blissfully, happily married, and the third party was gone.
And it's funny because you know we didn't see each other during this period, but like I said, I could look at a picture and I was like, oh man, she's miserable even though she's smiling. You know, but what I can tell you that is that I got to see this development process and this this evolution. And I can tell you, you must be a fantastic coach because everything you're saying is exactly what we were experiencing then. And all the things that you were like screaming and pulling, you like, she made the changes. So somehow you coached her into doing something like.
Well, then you did. But then I think after that, you've got a story here. You said, I did Worthy as Fuck for Love. So after that, you did my course of Worthy as Fuck for Love. And I think that helped you a little bit with some things that we didn't talk about on the call, maybe.
I think it just was more or less that, me just deciding that I was worthy. Like, you know, I used to, because of upbringing and this and that, and how things were with, you know, my dad, but that I was never worthy of love. I had to do things to get things.
To do
and then
things
I realized,
to get it. Yeah.
Then I realized I don't have to do anything. Like this whole time, it's so authentic. Now I don't do anything. Like Hal does everything.
That's
He
lovely.
spoils me and pampers me. Everything I wanted is here.
Now, I'll read this question. Holly, I wanted to ask how much you thought of Hal. Was it about him or you from his perspective? I sometimes have obsessive thoughts and want to know how to understand the difference between obsession and persistence in the news story.
That's a great question.
I know. So for me, I would take it back to self. When I started to get the intrusive, and here, you know, I still get them even to this day, like the anxiety, the intrusive thoughts. You know, it's a conscious decision. Stay in that decision of who you are. So I always took it back to self, like Laws tells us. It's a journey of self. So when those intrusiveness or obsessions would come up, I'd just be like, I am chosen. I am worthy. I am good enough. That's my I amness or self-concept for people. And you know, it quelled it.
So someone's written here, I'd love for Hal to expand on what he means by Holly needed to do nothing and it felt faked. So when you were talking before about she wasn't her authentic self, what was it that she was doing now that was different, or how did that make you feel?
So the only way I can describe this is like take a breath and relax. And you know, as she was trying to like please me, it was nothing. It didn't please me. I didn't want her to be anything other than just normal. Just be yourself.
So let me explain what that actually is, what was happening with Hal and with Holly. So Holly had a story that she had to do things to please people, to be loved, because her biggest fear is I won't be loved. So her constant story was, I need to do something or be something for you to love me. And that's all then Hal could then reflect back is, I don't love you. I don't want you this way. I don't want you, right? And so he was getting almost like the ick, because the more she was doing, it was coming from the fear. So the only thing that Hal could reflect back to her was the story of the fear, which is, I don't love you. I don't love this. I don't love this version of you, right? Then when she changed the story that I am lovable, of course I'm loved, of course he loves me, I don't need to do anything to make it happen, then she never had that fear anymore, or got rid of most of it. Then he was no longer reflecting it back to her that she is not lovable. He started to now experience the new story of her that was getting reflected out, which is I am lovable. Then he started to love her. The new version of her that was no longer pushing it and trying to be different to be loved.
I tried too hard in the 3D, you know, Loz, and you had told me that too. I tried too hard in the 3D to make myself loved, you know, like I thought I had to do all these actions to be loved for who I was. I didn't realize that I'm already loved. I mean, you know, I didn't see my own
but
worth.
The realization, you just said it then, that I didn't have to do anything to be loved. There's a difference. We could all be stopping our 3D stuff and stopping being the person you think you want us to be, but still have the fear that I'm not lovable. But somewhere there, you not only stopped the fakery and the doing and the pleasing and the do this to love me stuff, but you also started changing the thinking that was causing you and propelling you to even act that way and be that way. So the only thing Hal could actually reflect is the new thinking, not the new action. So even though you're being different outwardly in the 3D, all he was ever telepathically receiving was, you won't love me. I have to be this way because you won't love me. So then when you started saying, of course you love me, of course I'm lovable, yes, you love me, then he was receiving those thoughts. It was going into the receiving set of his mind. He started thinking, you know what, I do love her. And you know what, she's perfect the way she is. And I'm going to do things for her because I love her so much.
So I'm going to try to sum it. So your mind has a tactical advantage over you. It knows your fears. It knows your insecurities. It knows your weaknesses. It knows everything you don't want everyone else to know. So it can be your greatest weakness.
Exactly.
But it can also be your greatest strength if you can control those things. And, you know, so many people, it's like a path of self-destruction. I almost think of it as like, when you look in the mirrors, like, do you see the enemy or the inner me? And
honestly, Hal, I keep saying to people, if I just called myself a reflection coach, people would understand this. But because people use the word manifestation, they think it's all woo-woo and weird. But what you're describing is exactly what it is, which is reflecting to you, and then you experience the new her.
Yeah.
It's like what
that's
you
right.
would tell us
Absolutely.
live, like if you're looking in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you don't try to change the mirror. You change yourself.
Right.
That
Right.
I love that. That's a great analogy. Yeah.
That's live.
I'm gonna use
Right.
that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So now, see, Holly fucking gets it. Someone just wrote. And the thing is, Holly, you had to take a journey to get it. And we don't all necessarily get it straight away. I didn't get it straight away. Look, I discovered The Secret in 2004.
Yeah.
I discovered Never Got Out in 2016. It's now 2024. I didn't start my TikTok until I knew I got it, right?
Yes.
Until I got it, right?
Yes.
And the thing is, some of you think you've got it and then you go and fuck it up.
Yes.
Or you think you get this about awareness and what you're aware of and not aware of, but you're not quite getting it.
Yes.
Holly's really gone on a journey here. So any of you who are so fucking concerned about the time, you're like, where is he? Look, I had the call with Holly on the 8th of December, 2020 fucking
Yes.
2. It's now 2024. And you bitches are so concerned about it. But last week he said, who cares what he fucking did last week? Right?
I love it.
Yes.
Right? So Holly was really, really adamant that the time wasn't going to affect her. And it didn't matter because in the end, you'd be married.
Yes.
And now we're at the end.
And I did things in the 3D. Like I said, I went on dates with other guys. And, I did things while, you're waiting for the reality to swap or whatever. And you just stay in faith and you just know that it's working out for you, in every possible way. And you just enjoy every minute. Like you can still have fun in the 3D. It didn't deter us. And I'm not going to say that I didn't see Hal's Facebook and saw him in 3P and one of his kids on there. And like, it could have derailed me. And I was like, nope. That's just a circumstance. It doesn't matter. And it didn't derail me because within 2 months later, she was gone. So
How did you respond when people asked about Hal? I guess they're talking about during the time and towards the end.
So I made a really conscious decision not to speak negatively of him because I always knew that in the end we were going to be married. I was living from the end. So I was just like, when we did split up, I was like, it was distance and we had to, work on ourselves, this and that. Even though in the face of that moment, people could see that him and 3P were together. Like I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't care. I was just like, whatever. And I didn't talk negatively about him because I knew at this moment, because I've done that in the past when I thought that I had it every single time. Because I found you in 2020, Laws. I didn't ever have it until just the last year. The penny finally dropped.
Oh, you didn't fucking have it on the call.
Yeah.
I was fucking angry in that Q&A. I was like, I've never said to someone after a call, I have literally wasted my time with you.
I love it. I love it.
I needed it though. I needed to get my shit together.
I really thought that you got it on the call. And then when you're freaking out about a dress and a party, I was like, I give up. Like I honestly, because I just thought I thought we'd gone through this, right? So you've really gone on such a journey of really the penny dropping for you and going, hang on, whoa. Okay, I get that I've caused this, but I also get that the only person controlling this is me. And I'm so concerned with the 3D. I am so concerned with it. And what I'm saying, guys, is because we did an email this week and I said, if you come and watch Holly's coaching, it was a shit show in 3D. And guys, it really was. So I need you to understand how much mind control Holly has had to have to really look at that 3D shit show and go, well, it's going to be different. Like, really, it was that bad. She got kicked out of the house she was living in. You know what I mean? Like, it was bad. So what I'm saying is those of you who are just concerned about the smallest little 3D shit, Holly's 3D shit was not good, right? And next week, when you guys come watch John's coaching, John went from trying to get his SP back, having a call with me, got engaged, got back together, got engaged, got married, right? And I was like, what have you done, right? And I said, fucking go, you know what to do, go and do it. And now they're back together and no divorce, right?
Oh, so congratulations, John.
That's awesome.
So bad circumstance, really great, back together, shit circumstance again. And he knows what he was thinking that caused the bad circumstance. It wasn't her.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? And you guys have got to really get that it doesn't matter how bad this is. You can come back from the brink of fucking disaster because you are in control of it. And Holly really didn't understand it at first because her circumstance was so bad. And I completely understand why she felt that way. Because you were even in the call going, but what do I do? I don't have anywhere to live. Like, that's kind of what was happening on the call, remember?
I didn't want to go back home. I mean, I had my condo in Savannah, but I didn't want to go back home. I had already practically moved up here, like me and the dogs.
You were like, at one point in the call, you were like, do I just tell him I am not leaving? And I was like, no, Holly, you just go.
Oh, she's
just go be a psycho.
I tried to take action in the 3D instead of making it effortless and just follow the steps.
So this is really cool for me because I'm actually seeing everything that you're saying. I'm actually able to connect this evolution in her now. So
Right.
I'm like, I'm really impressed. And the one thing I'll say is like, you're very visionary, and you're right. All these people are focused on these little minute, like the bullshit that it doesn't matter.
It's
like it doesn't
matter.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
It's like filter out the noise.
Yeah.
Don't let it take space in your head.
Yeah.
But
And
I can really see.
I know how hard it is, but you've got to. And that's the thing. I was actually watching the Arnold documentary with someone a couple of weeks ago, and I've tried to explain this to them, and they just don't get it. And they were talking at the beginning of the documentary. I said, shh, listen to what Arnold's saying.
Yeah.
And he's sitting in his hot tub. He's like, where's my pen? I visualize everything that I got. And everything, I'm trying to do Arnold's voice. And he's got his cigar, and he's like, everything that happened in my life, I imagined it. And he's going, and I said, this is what I teach. And he's going to me, huh? I said, listen to fucking Arnold. Anyway, by the end of the thing, he's like, oh, Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger to tell this fuckwit what I'm teaching. He wouldn't listen to me, right? But what I'm saying is that Arnold didn't care that he was from, like, I don't know, buttfuck Idaho in Austria, didn't speak English. He ended up going from that to becoming all these things that he became. He couldn't possibly have, in the kernel of that moment of being a kid in Austria, have thought he could ever be, you know, Mr. Universe, a superstar, fucking superhero, a movie star, the governor, all these things.
Yes.
Right? So it's the same journey that those people go on, and everyone goes, oh, but that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's amazing. Yeah, but we can be that fucking amazing. Look what Holly's done.
That's right.
You can be and have it all. All you have to do is change your thinking. It's as simple as changing your thinking and staying in the new story, the new identity. Forget the old story. Let it go.
That's amazing. And
you know,
Holly, I must say, honestly, though, you actually look really different.
Do I really?
Yeah.
Lots. I manifested.
You know, but everybody has said that.
The shape of your face is completely thinner.
You know what my affirmations is? I'm supermodel, stunningly beautiful, and I swear my awareness has changed to that.
But I mean, I can see it like totally in just the shape of your face, everything. It is like you are a new person. It really is.
Thank you so much.
Yes, she looks completely different. Yeah, that's what someone's written it.
No, absolutely.
Guys, I'm so proud. Yeah.
Yes.
So is there anything else you guys want to tell us? I don't want to keep you here forever because we've been here for an hour.
Unless anyone has questions, especially for Hal.
Like, okay, hang on. Here you go. Holly, did you keep contacting him even when he was not showing any movement towards you and was a third party and was with the third party instead? Or you went no contact while working on your self-concept and then started connecting again based on inspired action? No, you didn't listen to the fucking interview, Sonali. We've already discussed that.
Well, no, I did not focus on that. I did not text him. Here's the thing. I was my most authentic version. If I wanted to text him about something, I would. I had no story behind it. But no, I was really so focused on who I was and just, you know, manifesting my dream life and my dream relationship that I couldn't be deterred by these circumstances. So no, but it was my decision. Like, it wasn't that I felt like I couldn't reach out. No, we weren't in no contact.
Right.
I knew I could text him at any point. I just didn't feel the need. I was more focused on me for once. It was all about me.
And that's the thing, guys. Those of you who are in no contact, it's the same circumstance, right? It doesn't matter if you're in no contact or contact. It's like you're still in contact telepathically. Got it?
Let me give you some perspective. So if she had contacted me, I don't think any of this would have worked out the way it did. Actually, what was powerful, and that's what I meant by when I said, like, what did you need to do? Absolutely fucking nothing. Yeah. So like sometimes like you do so much self damage or self-inflicted damage by doing all this stuff. Actually, the space was needed. That allowed me to actually come back and see her in a different light because I'm letting go of these preconceived like notions, right? And this view that like I've got locked in or programmed into my mind. You know, that space and that pause and that distance, they gave me time to like reset that view, you know, refresh or whatever, refresh the page. So actually without that, I don't think this would have worked. The space was powerful. The no contact was powerful.
We weren't in no contact though. I mean, I could text you if I wanted to. I was so focused on myself. But you weren't like obsessed. You weren't like, it wasn't me. You contacted me if you needed something, but you didn't just like give me chit chat or bullshit. No.
Because that like, you know,
would have annoyed you. And you just said then the space was needed. That's a lot of the stuff that you guys don't get. When you're in no contact or when you've split up or whatever, sometimes take that space, the time where you're not talking or the time where you're not constantly talking, as time to fucking work on your shitty thinking that caused the situation. So not only was the space needed for Holly to go away and work on herself, the time was needed for Holly to be sending, I am now the new me. You're experiencing the new me thoughts to him, right? Because, and then he started to have, he needed that time to kind of go through whatever he needed to go through to undo the situation that got caused with the third party. The time, the space was actually required. So a lot of you get so upset about the time and space.
Well, I know he wants to say this. I completely detached from it. I had to be detached from all of that, knowing that, you know, he and I are fine. I'm living from the end, but I was so focused on me that, and when I took a focus off the third party, like she literally like was gone. So I would just encourage anybody to just know that, you know, keep the awareness on yourself and what you want. Tell the story that you want and stay in your new identity, self-concept, I amness. And it has to come. I mean, it has to play out. It does. You know, it is.
So I'm going to give the viewers like two things that I think that were very important for contextually. So one is, you know, by giving, first of all, if she didn't take this space, I might have actually not allowed her development to take place because I'm already negative towards her. I'm already feeling negative. I already see her negative. I'm already thinking negative. Negative. Now, if you start telling me manifesting is going to change some shit after all the stuff we've been through, I'm like, you know, this is a joke. So I actually think that I would have prevented her development, her self-development, if I had stayed in contact. So number one. Number two is that by seeing her as this new person, the magnitude of this change, like I couldn't look past it. I tried to. And, you know, I described it as saying that her love was the only thing more stronger than my armor-plated will, because I had armor-plated resistance to allowing this to happen again to me. I'm like, I've been down this path, I'm never going down it again. But as I saw the collection of these changes, I could not undermine the amount of work that she did. Now, had I seen this day by day, month by month, maybe it wouldn't have been so profound.
Wouldn't have been so impactful. And the thing is, your brain was probably thinking, oh, I can't go through this again, because you guys had a history and on off. Your logical brain's going, oh, it's just going to go to shit again, or it'll be fine for a while and then, right? But because she's so radically transformed, which is what all my courses are about, you have to radically transform yourself. You can't half transform. I think I say in Worthy as Fuck for Love, it's like a transformer. You can't be like, and like be half transformed. You've got to be fully and completely transformed. And by the time Helen and her got fully back into contact, she had fully and completely transformed, was no longer blaming him.
Yes, that was, you know, me, that was the victim mindset. I'm like, why is this happening to me? Knowing good and well, I'm the conscious creator. I created it. So let it happen, you know, decide something else.
So at the end of every chapter of Worthy as Fuck for Love, I make you guys make a declaration that you're not going to blame the other person. So it would have been so it would have been very refreshing, Hal, that when you saw her, blaming you anymore.
No, it absolutely caught my attention. It made me want to, like, so it broke my armor-plated will. You know, I'm now I like at every turn, I said that at every time I tried to resist it, I was met with inescapable defeat. And I'm a pretty like mentally tough, disciplined guy. So like I'm literally, I was perplexed and saying like, how is she defeating me with this love? And it really like was the first thing that gave me the true power of this manifesting, right? Because I'm seeing firsthand it's defeating me. It's literally defeating me at every turn. And so
but all it's really doing is it's just you reflecting the new her. All it really is. So it's not like Holly's gone and done a voodoo spell on you or stuck thoughts in your mind and made you think things against your will. It's nothing like that. It's literally, there was an old Holly, now there's a new Holly. And the new Holly is really the kernel of who she always was. Lovable, enough, perfect. Right. And then we have life and parental, you know, opinions and experiences that put all these things on us. I'm not lovable. I need to do things to make you happy. You know, you're going to criticize me. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not rich enough, smart enough, pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. Right. And then you become that Holly. Then he starts to experience through the course of the years he knew you, that Holly. But you had to pare back all that shit, Holly, to go back to the kernel of your I am, which is I am lovable and enough. And I don't need to do anything for you to love me. And I'm perfect. And I'm just me. I am me. And then when you experience her again, she's just like, I'm me. And you're like, this me is great.
That's right. I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. It's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
yeah, she didn't try to be anything because she was just her. And I was like, I was blown
Just her.
away. It was so powerful.
Mhm.
It was very
So that's
powerful.
when we've got to really harness. This is why I keep harping on about, but what are you really thinking? Because if you can really understand all those layers that were put on you, and I know personally, I had to do it myself for so many years to peel them away because I had so many layers of myself. I don't even know who I was. And I remember always saying to people, oh, people don't know me very well. And they'd be like, I know you well. And I think, bitch, you've known me for 15 years. You barely have touched the surface of knowing me. Right? Because I had so many layers over me of like the thing I pretended to be to people. And I am so me now. I can't lie. I can't, like, all the things I used to do. I used to be a compulsive liar when I was younger because I was covering up stuff. Like, not compulsive liar, but I used to lie about stuff. Like, and so now I'm just me. And I remember feeling when I came out of therapy one time, this therapist made me do this thing. And he said to me, I want you to just do something here because hardly anyone turned up. And he's like, Lauren, I want you to say this. I admire me. And I went, no. And as a person who thought they weren't good enough, I couldn't even say these words. And I remember he made me say all these things, and then I admire me. And I was like, I don't really want to say that. He's like, just say it. And I kept saying it. And I remember walking out of therapy that day and feeling like a chicken who all the like feathers had been taken off, and I was just this skinless, like walking around like, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of what you feel like when you start unpeeling all these layers, and you kind of feel like, okay, well, what do I do with all these feelings and all these things I know about myself? But then you rebuild. But you're really rebuilding to go back to the you just are.
Correct.
Right. It's like you're filtering out all the impurities there's like all the social media bullshit, all the worry about what people think or what they feel or,
right.
you know,
so when people are scared that we put thoughts in an SP's head and they're being manipulated, no, they're just loving the you are.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Because you've now peeled away all that shit.
Yeah.
Yes. It's really loving yourself. Loving, I mean, I do it all in love now. Like I transcended all that. You can transcend. Love is the greatest emotion. So I look at everything in love, even the 3P. I don't think of her. She's not in my awareness, but if it does cross my mind, I'm just like love and light. There's no reason to hate,
love
you know. But
exactly.
my whole life has changed. It's not even just with Hal. It's like every relationship in my life, my work life, my parents, like, you know, there was strife. It's pretty perfect now. I mean, I look at it all in love and see them how I want them to, and how, you know, you just, you know, change the story of them, and everybody's reflecting it.
Right.
It's been amazing.
It just kind of seems like you have like true conviction in yourself. It's like I see this, you know, before it's like if you try to be what everybody else wants you to be, then it's like you can't please everybody. You know, and I used to tell my staff, I'd say, hey, you know, I'm going to make this fucking decision, and I know some of you aren't going to fucking like it, but I can't please everybody. And the sooner I accepted that, the easier all this stuff got for me. Yeah. But, you know, so once she stopped like focusing on things that don't matter to these people that don't matter, you actually start focusing on what matters to you. And now you have vision. Now you have real conviction, right? And it was that conviction that was powerful, because that conviction was like, it made her a leader that was worthy of following, right? So as I started to see this conviction, I'm like, okay, I like following someone who's convicted. I like following someone who's certain, who has, you know, and that's what she started displaying when she stopped worrying about what everybody else that didn't matter thought.
So you keep saying certain. Do you think she was sorry, Holly?
Go ahead, Les. No.
Do you think she was always like a very uncertain kind of person, or not sure of herself before? Is that what you're trying to say?
But it was really more like people pleasing. Like, I want to be nice to this person, you know. And I would tell her, I'd say, you know, I'd see her meet someone. She's like, oh, I love your hair and I love your nails. And I'm like, man, that's so fucking fake. Like, I can't stand that, right? And she stopped trying to make everybody happy, and that allowed her to be authentically her.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I love people for who they are, but I go in with the assumption that everybody loves me. I don't have to do anything. They love me for who I am, and they reflect it back.
And you know what? You said in your call that you had relationships previous or whatever where people had taken advantage or been abusive or whatever. And that kind of characteristic of always needing to please will always manifest in those kind of people. Where now you wouldn't even manifest into reality a person would ever treat you that way.
No, I don't. I'm not the same girl anymore. I'm a completely different person. And I just, again, looking at things from love, you know, if I'm reflecting love, then love comes back to me. So I can't even imagine having that in my reality.
Right. And the thing is, Holly, the thing that's so sad sometimes when people watch coaching back and stuff, when someone's so lovely like you are, you've got a really lovely, loving energy about you, very sweet. And I think what people, they feel sad because they're like, how did this happen to this person? But the thing is, we've got to realize
you can be as loving and kind of, but it's the thinking behind all this that's causing that person who's such a lovely person to have bad circumstances. Right. And it wasn't like Holly deserved it or anything. It's just she had all this thinking that was planted in her brain from when she was young, like, you have to be good to, you have to achieve for me to love you.
Yeah.
Or you to get attention, you have to be better, do better, like be prettier, be enough. And so this was constantly like, and then so Holly's reality could only be the result of all these fears she had.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Yes.
so as soon as she got rid of them, then she just became like glam enough. And then there was this blossoming that then Hal experienced of this person who just thought, you know what, I don't need to do anything or please you or, and so the sweetness and the loveliness that Holly always was still there.
Yes.
But she was no
Absolutely.
longer acting upon these things.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like I almost think of what you said is like posture. If you carry yourself with like bad posture, and you're like you don't want to, you don't look confident, you look weak, you look feeble, like you're gonna get treated like that. So it's like almost as she was doing this, her posture changed.
Right.
Her chin was up, and she was looking at you in the eyes. And it's like when you start carrying yourself different like that, then you command the respect of being talked to and interacted with different. And she did. She absolutely. As I saw this evolution, like now I'm not talking to someone who's that bad posture, right? I'm talking to someone who's an equal. They're to my co-CEO now. Right.
Co-CEO. I love that so much. Co-CEO. That's so cool. Because you could have the attitude as a guy who is financially savvy and a boss and that like she's, your trophy wife or something. But to say co-CEO is so lovely.
Yes.
Because then you're in equal footing. I love it. It's gorgeous.
Yes. Which is what I want. I never wanted a trophy wife. I wanted a fucking co-CEO.
Oh, that's so lovely. I love it. Oh, should we end on that? Because co-CEO is like a perfect ending. I love that, guys.
Just tell everybody, don't waver. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Stand in your decision. I wavered so much back and forth between like, do I want to do this? Is it worth it? Is it working? And then I had to just remove that altogether and stand in my decision. And it came in lightning fast when I stood in my decision and I didn't waver.
Because you were kind of feeling like, do I give up or this isn't working or
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what do you think you did at the end? You just went, no, what did you just think?
I think I decided that I was happily married. I lived from the end and that I knew that I was a powerful manifestor and I could have what I wanted. Hal would be the version that I wanted to be. I would be the version I wanted to be. You just have to be confident and know what you want. Just know what you want and stand in it.
So being visionary, it sounds like being visionary is very key.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, what a
Thank you,
I'm just writing what John wrote because John's interview's next week. Thank you, guys. Congratulations to you two as well. I'm so happy for you both. Yay!
Thank
so,
you.
guys, if you want to watch John's success story, that'll be next week as well. We're going to have one every week. So, guys, I love that you came on, Hal. Thank you so much because you've given us an insight that I swear to God we don't normally get. And it's really insightful for all of us. And it's so lovely how open you are to it all, honestly.
Well, what's interesting is that as I hear you talk, I'm learning about your process as well. So I'm actually connecting the dots through her development and the things that you're talking through. Yeah. So I equally enjoy the experience and I'm happy that, I'm glad, I hope it's inspirational for people because it's surprised the hell out of me. I'm just
what a
surprised.
good Holly. I love it.
Yes, thank you for letting us come on, Laz. Like, I love you so much and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Like, I couldn't be prouder, honestly. When I saw your story, I was so fucking happy. I can't tell you.
Thank you so much. Like, I just can't believe, like, the last time I talked to you, I was getting ready to go home. No husband, no boyfriend.
You're getting kicked out of the house.
Got kicked out of the house.
Over a TK Maxx fucking shopping trip.
TJ Maxx, focused on the Christmas party I wasn't attending.
But I've got the dress. I was like, holy fuck the dress.
And then they got my manifestation journal and I'm like, I'm just doomed.
It's our biggest fear. It really is. You know the amount of
I love referencing back to that journal now, and I'm like, holy fucking shit! Like all
everything I scripted is come true.
Now I'm like, man, that from my perspective, okay, finding the journal. This is I'm learning the power because I'm actually seeing this shit that 12 months ago I said,
written down,
crazy.
Yes.
And now I'm like, this shit happened.
Yes, it's happening.
So so now I have a very different
journal. Actually, that's the power of the journal because you can show someone or show yourself.
Yes.
Because otherwise, sometimes you think, did I imagine that this is going to happen? But if you've written it down, you're like, I fucking wrote that.
I wrote it. That's amazing. Happening.
I did that. You did that.
That's right.
You did that, darling. Hooray!
Thank you, Roz.
I couldn't be happier for you.
Well,
Now, do you guys mind if I stick this on YouTube?
Absolutely.
No,
yeah, go ahead. Yes, of course.
All right, wonderful.
All right.
And I'm so glad all the squaddies got to ask questions. So, guys, if you're in the squad, you can always, when we do these success stories, you can ask people questions, which is really helpful because then you can understand what they did, what the process was, things that I haven't thought to ask. And I know a lot of you guys who are watching are struggling with certain things, and to be able to ask is like so valuable.
Yes, they can ask Cal. I mean, I'll respond here a little while. If there's questions still, we will. Or ask on the YouTube,
wonderful.
whichever.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you
for all the questions and
Mwah.
everything as well.
Thank you.
We
Bye,
love you.
guys.
Thank
Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.